So today I'm playing with my favourite cards in my favourite colours on the Mythic ladder and trying to leverage a cool combo with my favourite Planeswalker too. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I've got a mid-range deck doing great stuff on the ladder. Before I start, don't forget though to like, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe below. It massively helps out, and I want to thank you all for the support that you give this channel. But onto this deck, and today I'm in Mardu with a token-themed mid-range deck that has been working very well for me today. I'll start with the synergy between Urabrask's Forge and Ob Nixilis. As you can probably see, if you have a large Forge token, you can sacrifice it with Ob Nixilis after combat to make a large copy of Ob Nixilis. I think Planeswalkers and the Forge are super good at the moment, as there's a lot of board wipes going around. And as you may know, I love a good combo, especially janky ones, so I'm squeezing in 3 Blind Mice to attempt to make copies of the token copy of Ob Nixilis 2. There are other dedicated combo decks built around 3 Blind Mice, but today I really want to copy an Ob Nixilis token. My other 2 favourite cards in this deck are Archangel of WRATH and Lord Skitter, both very effective in today's meta. The life gain from the Angel is paramount in defeating aggro decks, and Lord Skitter is so good at dealing with recursive graveyard threats you may be facing. I've got the Wandering Emperor to help control the board, and with the tokens we're making, I'm trying out Mondrak. This pairs very well with the Forge because basically you're going to be doubling your damage for at least a turn. You can even double Ob Nixilis tokens if that ever comes up. I've got a bunch of removal and board wipes, essential to stay alive. These pair really well with a Forge too to help create a bit of a one-sided board wipe, and we've got Phyrexian Arenas for the all-important card draw. Today I've got 26 lands, including a few creature lands, which end up turning into our late game win conditions, and that's the deck. In mid-range decks there are many alternatives, especially with the longer rotation. You have so many more cards to pick from, but so far I'm finding it fairly strong in the ladder. I'm at 7-2, and as long as you have a bit of patience, trust your draws and your late game, I feel this is a very good deck. If however you have any thoughts on this deck, or the new Ixalan set being spoiled, you can let me know in the comments below. You can find me over on Twitter, and as always, thank you for watching. Alright, on the draw here, hand looks reasonable. No very early plays, so fingers crossed they don't come out the blocks too fast. And we are not playing against an aggro style deck, but our hand is okay. Putting it with an island, so exactly what I'd hoped. And they pass the turn. Alright, so maybe a mono blue deck, I'm not entirely sure obviously yet. But slow start for us, we'll just play our tap land and say go. Opponent with Consider, so absolutely pointing towards a mono blue deck, and they surveil a land, an island into the graveyard. I actually quite like playing against mono blue decks. Yeah, I feel like sometimes you just play all your cards and run them out of counter spells, etc. In this case, we're just going to play the Forge. If it gets countered, it gets countered. Our hand is pretty much like full of gas, so it's an impulse for our opponent. But Forge resolves, and this is going to be a recursive threat against mono blue that they're going to find it hard to deal with. So I'm glad we managed to get that down on turn 3. I don't know if they didn't have any counter spells or they didn't care about this card. We have Ob Nixilis in our hand, so we can copy a Forge token when it gets big enough. Opponent with their Haughty Djinn though. And we find a Destroy Evil. So we could attempt to Destroy Evil the Haughty Djinn, but they'll have something. They'll probably have a counter spell or some kind of protection spell. So I'm just going to pass the turn, and we're going to try and kill the Haughty Djinn at the beginning of our next turn. My hope is that we cast the Wandering Emperor this turn and the opponent counters or does something, and then we can Destroy Evil next turn. So we'll see what they want to do. Haughty Djinn is a 3/4 now. And they rumble. Alright, well, I'm not going to Wandering Emperor yet. I'm going to wait for them to see if they play another one. Which they don't, okay. So we've taken 3 damage, but I'm fine with that. We'll play the Wandering Emperor, and if this gets exiled, or if this gets countered, sorry, I'm cool. Opponent did let it resolve though, so we'll go to exile their Haughty Djinn. I wonder if they just don't have any counter spells. We haven't seen any yet. And they Consider, okay. And they Fading Hope their Haughty Djinn. Okay, so yeah, At least we have a Wandering Emperor on the battlefield now. We have our Forge going. Opponent only has 1 mana open, so chance of them actually countering any of our our Archangel this turn is pretty low, because I don't think there are any counter spells for just the 1 mana. And it is a consider for the opponent, but this is fine with me. We have a Forge, which is going to be attacking for 3 this turn. Wandering Emperor puts a counter on the Archangel. That's a 4/5. And we rumble in, opponent down to 14. So we just keep playing our spells, and then I think we'll be okay in this game. We did find our black mana that turn, though, our last turn, so we can Ob Nixilis this turn if we need to. Opponent Fading Hopes our Archangel of Wrath. Okay. Alright, well, I think the best thing to do here is to go to attacks and see if the opponent wants to take 4 damage. Surely they're not going to block with their Djinn. I guess they could block and maybe Fading Hope their Djinn. And then I'm going to attempt to destroy evil the Haughty Djinn. I'm pretty certain they're going to respond in some fashion. But then I'm going to Ob Nixilis anyway, so we'll see what happens here. Just trying to deal with this Djinn. It is negated. Okay, so Ob Nixilis here, we can casualty our 4/1. So we'll make a copy of Ob Nixilis with 4 loyalty on it. Normally you'd probably make a devil here, but I think I'm just going to go straight into the +1s. See if they want to discard some cards. They don't. We don't actually need to gain any life at the minute, so I'm fine with this. Opponent down to 6. Let's make a 2/2, and they have options on what they are going to attack, but yeah, they scoop it up instead. Alright, on the draw, hand is pretty reasonable. We have 1 copy of Farewell, which we have, so if we can get to 6 mana, I think we should be okay, especially if we have some creature lands and maybe Ob Nixilis on the battlefield. Opponent in Mardu themselves, and that is Rafine's Impalement, so this is pointing towards some kind of Reanimator deck. And they discard a Swamp, okay. Alright, well, we'll just play a land and say go. We have Destroy Evil if we need to do that. Opponent with a Charming Scoundrel. So again, in the deck, because it has the discard effect, I would have presumed. We go down to 17. That is another land for us. I don't mind seeing lands. And I'm just going to play Ob Nixilis here. If anything, this is just going to create a problem for the opponent that they're going to have to deal with. It almost distracts them from our life total as we're building our way up to the Archangel and Farewell. Also, if they attack here, we're going to take out both their creatures with our Devil. Opponent with Sheoldred's Edict gets rid of our Planeswalker. That is acceptable to me. And they do attack. Well, we'll just block. Block the Scoundrel, kill that, and then we can just pop off the Rafine's Informant. Another land for us, okay. This time it is one of our creature lands, so we'll just play that, say go. Still got Destroy Evil if we need to deal with any urgent threats. Another Rafine's Informant. So we haven't seen any major problems for us to worry about. They haven't discarded anything that concerns me at all. Another Ob Nixilis though. Okay, so I'm going to just pass the turn. I think if I played the Archangel and then next turn need to Farewell, I'd just be losing my Angel. Opponent does have Invoke Justice though, and the only thing they can bring back is the Scoundrel. They put all their counters on the Informant. But luckily we have a Destroy Evil in our hand, so we can deal with a 6/5, at least stop taking 6 damage. But we'll take the 2 from the Scoundrel. We're still on 13 though, I feel like that is quite a high life total. Restless Fortress, okay. Clearly I don't want to Farewell the Scoundrel alone. And if they had any major problems in the graveyard, I might consider farewelling that turn, but Not too interested as we just play Archangel of WRATH. Opponent with a depopulate. Okay, so they probably just got removal spells in their hand. Phyrexian Arena is a nice draw though. We'll play that. And then we get to attack with one of our creature lands. So the Bivouac costs 3 to activate. The Restless Fortress costs 4. So we'll get in there with a 2-2. Make it a 3-3. Opponent down to 15. They do have 6 mana. They have 7 mana, sorry. And yeah, Atali comes down. Well, I'm pretty happy that we've been patiently holding back this Farewell in our hand. Opponent finds an Elish Norn and a Urabrask's Forge, which they can attack us with now. And so we find another land. We found a lot of land in this deck today. But Farewell is going to be pretty backbreaking for our opponent. We'll leave out Exile Enchantments to keep our Phyrexian Arena on the battlefield. And although we can't attack this turn, we've got some big attacks next turn with both our creature lands if we want. And that's Destroy Evil and a Sunfall, okay. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. We'll just get in there with our creature lands. So we can actually use both of them here. This is 7 damage. Went down to 8. And they're lethal. Well, we have lethal next turn with our creature lands. Opponent with an Intrepid Adversary to hopefully gain them some life, but we can deal with that with our Archangel here. Not that it's majorly important for us to do that, I don't think. But I think the Archangel is better than the Sunfall here. I just don't want them to gain 5 life. We'll take care of this creature. We can still attack with our land, which will be a 4-4. So I don't always play mid-range decks, but the Mythic rank is quite difficult to play the more janky combos that I've kind of hoping to play. So just waiting for the season to reset here. And thought I'd play Mardu colours, which are actually my favourite colour combination. And play with 2 of my favourite cards, which are Archangel of WRATH and Urabrask Forge. My other favourite creature is Graveyard Trespasser, but I think the Lord Skitter slightly trumps that these days. And we can just Destroy Evil, the Adversary here, attack with our Bivouac and put the counter on the Archangel for lethal. But opponent scoops it up first anyway. Alright, on the play. Our hand is fine, I think. Especially as we have a cut down. I think I probably would not have kept this if I didn't have a turn 1 play. Even though I'm going to play the Fortress tapped here. Opponent with Broker's Hideout. Okay. So, Bant deck. And yeah, just play Cliffs here and we will say go. Have a cut down here, but next turn we're absolutely dropping the Forge. Another Adversary, okay. I haven't seen this card for a long time and suddenly I've seen it in 2 games running, so we get a chance though to cut this down. Maybe they're another Reanimator deck. There's a go for the throat, but Forge is going to be pretty good here. Forge on turn 3, we can start smashing the opponent. Maybe they're just mono white. Although that is a restoration of Eiganjo, so it's still pointing maybe towards a Reanimator style deck, or is it just mono white mid-range control? We find a Forge. Okay, well, I mean, this is a lot. We need to try and kill them though before maybe they find a Farewell to deal with both our artifacts. They're down to 17. We can even start attacking with our creature lands soon as well. I genuinely believe these Urabrask's Forge are one of the strongest cards at the moment. They need pretty much specific removal to deal with them, and they just survive so many board wipes and spot removal spells. It kind of outpaces opponents' reactive interaction. So I've been super happy with these, especially with the plethora of board wipes going around. saying that I'm casting my own Path of Peril, but I think it's totally necessary at the moment. Mid-range decks have to find a way to deal with aggro decks, and the best way to do that at the moment I think is with things like Path of Peril. But opponent has a 3-4 on the board, which we could just go for the throat if we need to, and a Mentor. Okay, well that's a cool card. I played that in my last video. But we'll go for the throat, the 3-4 here. Surely they've got some kind of spell to make a load of monks with prowess. And we find a Sokenzan, which is our 6th mana. Could attack with our land here, but I don't actually want that to die. I need the 6 mana, so we'll just attack with 7 power with our 2 creatures. And that is a Virtue of Loyalty, which is a card I considered putting in this deck, but I just don't think we create enough tokens that stick around. So although it's a nice card, I'm fine to not play it here. But I'm going to play the Sokenzan as a land, and we're just going to hopefully not die this turn. Fingers crossed they just play their Virtue of Loyalty, and then we can just board wipe next turn and attack the opponent for 9. Opponent with a Serra Paragon, okay. Even just our 9 attackers, or our attackers with our land, could be lethal. I haven't quite done the math. But yeah, just Farewell is going to do it. Opponent gets in there with 2 2/2s, or not. Okay, they are respecting our land. And Phyrexian Arena, but we're just going to Farewell, and opponent scoops it up. Alright, on the draw. Now we think are keeping this one. Lord Skitter and Archangel of WRATH is pretty strong. Opponent with a Cacophony Scamp. So we've got to be a little bit careful here. I played a Scamp video earlier on in the Wilds of Eldraine set, and you can get absolute turn 3 wins. You can do way more damage on turn 3 than you need to. I think it's like 24 or so damage, especially if they've got a Swift Spear. So we have to be careful here. Opponent play with Fires Our Face, and we go all the way down to 15 already. So they could kill us next turn with a couple of monstrous rages. They can sacrifice their Cacophony Scamp after damage. So I'm just going to deal with that now. I am actually scared of that card. If we wait till the opponent's turn and then they just load it up with power, then we're going to take a whole heap of damage. But just taking 1 there is not a problem. And they follow up with Godric, so we go down to 10, and yeah, this is very difficult for us here. But we'll play Lord Skitter as more of a blocker than anything. Maybe this is a turn where the Graveyard Trespasser would have probably been better than Lord Skitter. And that is a Lightning Strike on our Rat. But at least that's not a Lightning Strike on our face. They've got a card in their hand that looks like they want to play it. It's Invasion of Tarkir. That's going to do 2 damage to us. But they attack their battle. Okay, we're alive. We're alive, and although the opponent has some creatures on the battlefield, we'll play our Archangel here. It has lifelink, so we'll see what we can do. They only have 1 card in their hand, so Godric is not enabled. And the cool thing with their 4/4 here is if Godric becomes a dragon, if it gets its celebration, it would actually pump up the Defiant Thundermaw. But they do attack us with Godric and the Thundermaw, and they're going to do 2 damage to our Archangel. Well, in that case, I'm just going to block Godric anyway. And we go up to 7. But we still have this 4/4 on the battlefield. That is a Forge, okay. Bit slow. I think we need to play the Archangel here. We're going to kick it, make sure we're not taking any unnecessary damage from any pain lands. So I think we're okay if we just use red. We'll get rid of the Swift Spear. And if they don't cast a spell here, I'm pretty sure that they've got a land in their hand. as they may have wanted to save their Swift Spear if they had a instant speed spell there. But I don't know if we're on chump duties yet. We're going to see. They're getting there with their Thundermaw. 2 damage to us, so we're going to go down to 7. And they go for the Archangel, and then they play with Fire it. Alright, so that's 5 damage we haven't taken to our face from their burn spells. And that is a Destroy Evil off the top. That is the absolute perfect draw, because we can deal with this 4-4. We were dead otherwise. We were absolutely dead. We even get to cast Ob Nixilis here. So yeah, I think we survived just. And I think we're going to be okay. Wait, did I not casualty my rat? No. I was going to casualty the rat there to make 2 Ob Nixilises. Okay. So I made a devil instead. Okay, slight misplay there. Anyway, the 4-4 is off the battlefield. Opponent with a land. That is a Phyrexian Arena. I don't know if we can take damage each turn for that at the moment, but we'll certainly see if we can discard this card from their hand. This will gain us 2 life. And it was a land in their hand, so we gain 2 life back. And let's get in there with our 1-4, because this drains for 2. And we go back up to 9, so I think we could be okay in this game. We have a Forge to try and do some more damage. We have 2 Forges. They have a Mirrex token, but that's fine, because that's just 1 damage. And I think we've turned the game here. We were a bit lucky with the Destroy Evil off the top, but that is why it's in the deck. It's in the deck to draw, to then kill their bigger threats. But yeah, they may have, if they watched this game back, may have attacked us slightly differently, because they had a lot of burn spells. And I know we had Archangel of WRATH, but I think we were in chumping mode, to be honest. Anyway. And the opponent makes a 1-1. They're down to 7. We're actually up to 10 now. We can afford to play the Phyrexian Arena now as well. Picnic Arena, okay. Okay, they make their Mirrex token a 4-4, so they get to deal with Ob Nixilis here. Then they cast their Picnic Arena. Sure. And that is a Lord Skitter. I don't know if we've got lethal here, but I guess we just activate our land, and so they can put 2 toughness in front of one of our creatures, and then yeah, they still take 5 after the 2 damage from the Reckless Fortress. I think maybe we were a bit lucky in that game, but you make your own luck, and we didn't die, we survived, and I will take that win. Alright, on the play, a whole ton of 3-drops, but let's give it a go. Let's see what we can do here, especially as we have some tap lands to get out of the way first, and we'll start with the Restless Fortress. And it is a Thicket for our opponent and Generous Visitor, so Selesnya Enchantments. I don't know how we're going to deal with this deck. I guess we have the Forge, which is just going to be a relentless attack onto our opponent. But we don't have any removal spells for this Visitor. In fact, we don't have any removal spells until we get to like turn 5 maybe. Maybe this was a dodgy keep. And Michigo's Reign of Truth. Quite an early Michigo, but they're going to attack us for 3 here. We go down to 17. And that's Ob Nixilis. Okay, so, I mean, our hand does have the Forge. It has 3 Bone Mice and it has Ob Nixilis, but unfortunately we're going to be taking an absolute pounding at the moment from our opponent here. I don't know if we're going to be able to combo off. We even have Mondrak. But we'll do our best. And that's Calyx. Okay, this Generous Visitor has been around for far too long. It is now a 5-5. We go down to 12. Another land. Okay, well. Okay. I'm just going to play Mondrak. Mondrak's a 4-4. Obviously they may have a ossification or something. At least we get 2 tokens to attack our opponent here. But sometimes they don't have the removal that is needed. We're just crossing our fingers and our toes right now. We have a 5-5 Visitor though. And Audacity, okay, that is not a removal spell. The Generous Visitor is now a 9/7, okay. Okay, and there's Ossification, yeah. I don't know if we could have won that game by doing anything a little bit differently. Maybe it was a bad keep. But I am going to take my hats off to the opponent there. That was an absolute beating. They had the perfect draws at the perfect time. And yeah, good game. Alright, on the draw. See how this one goes. Opponent with a Plains. And we find another tap land, Sundown Pass. But the tap lands are okay as we have some later game threats. Opponent with Spellbook Vendor, okay, that is a cool card that I'm just going to hold back on instead of shooting it down immediately. We'll let them pay the 1. They have to target a creature, so we'll just shoot down whatever they target. Azorius, it looks like. And another Vendor. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure what we're up against here. I've only ever played the Vendor in mono white decks or Orzhov decks. So they are, I guess, just targeting one of the Vendors. Yeah, and we'll just cut that down. Save 3 damage. And that is Ob Nixilis, okay. Alright, well, let's get some ball presence going with Lord Skitter the Sewer King. Eat that Spellbook Vendor from the graveyard and make a 1/1. A 1/1 that we can casualty with Ob Nixilis to make a copy of Ob Nixilis. And if Mondrak's on the battlefield, we'll actually make 2 copies. But opponent has a Catilda, okay. And they put their token onto the Vendor, sure. Alright, well, we will just make a copy of our Ob Nixilis as we did not draw a 3rd mana. And as usual with Planeswalkers, they are going to distract the opponent from our life total, I would have thought. But no real attacks here. I don't really want to attack. I like the rat here being more of a blocker, make some creatures. Then hopefully Mondrak and the Lord Skitter together can work in tandem to flood this board with 1/1s. And a Nurturing Presence, okay. Cool card. Opponent's on some kind of spirit deck, it seems. And there is Dorothea. So a 4/4. So if they're on spirits, especially with Catilda, the Lord Skitter's going to be absolutely brilliant, actually, because we can just start eating their graveyard threats. Are they going after us, it seems? Yes, they are. I think that is the brave play from them. Leaving our Ob Nixilises alone. But we will definitely destroy this Catilda pre-combat. Go to combat. Well, I guess we'll just up the Ob Nixilises first to see if they discard a bigger, badder threat. But I do like the idea of taking care of this enchantment from their graveyard. We will certainly eat that. And still got no attacks. So our hand is fine. I really just want another land, I think. Catilda makes a return, so that's a new Catilda they've got. The lifelink isn't so much of a problem for me. I do appreciate the fact we're still on 17 life. And yet, they're going to attack our Planeswalkers. Fair enough. But Dorothea does have to sacrifice after attacks, so we're going to be able to eat that from the graveyard with our rat next turn, so this is a perfect matchup for us. We do have to find a way to deal with this Catilda though, and that is the Wandering Emperor, and that is an absolute perfect way to deal with it as it exiles as well. So we'll eat this spirit from the graveyard. Yeah, this can't be too good for them. They're playing against a deck that is kind of suited to destroy them. They need to find a way to deal with our 3/3. But they find another Dorothea. And hopefully they just attack with Catilda here. And we will exile that one. But it's all well and good us just exiling our opponent's threats and dealing with them all. We have to try and do some damage ourselves. We need to get these angels onto the battlefield. And they scry to the top. And scry to the top, okay. So Let's hope that they've got some kind of spell that is not a removal spell for our rat. But we get to exile their threat there that they can keep, or they might be able to recast in the graveyard, even though obviously we have our Lord Skitter there, which would have eaten that. Land, though, enables us to play our Archangel, and we can shoot this 2/2. And then the Wandering Emperor here can put a +1/+1 counter onto our 4/5, which means it can block Dorothea quite nicely. Still no attacks, but we finally have a threat on the board that we can start attacking our opponent with next turn. That's what these Archangels are for. Okay, Nurturing Presence makes another flyer. I guess they can use their vendor here to put a... Okay, they could have put a token on the Dorothea to attack, but they scoop it up. It was a bit premature, I think, opponent. But again, I'll take the win. I think what we would have done there is played the land and just played Archangel of WRATH here, and we would have just taken care of this vendor. It's been annoying me for far too long. Then use the Wandering Emperor to put another counter on our Archangel and start attacking down our opponent. Alright, on the play. We will be keeping this hand. This is a good hand. The Destroy Evil is going to be great if the opponent has any kind of enchantment that we need to deal with, but the Forge on turn 3 is the reason I am keeping this hand. It is... I'd like to know how many games I win by playing Forge on turn 3. I feel like it's high. But opponent with a Raffine's Tower. Okay, so Esper deck, it seems. Yeah, they just pass their turn, so they could well have a counter spell here for our Forge. We will test the waters though by casting it, and it does survive. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy that that's on the battlefield. They have something though. Okay, it's the 2/2 Virtue of Loyalty token. Well, I don't care about that. We should be okay here. Our hand's pretty nice. We just need a 5th and 6th mana and we'll be good. Opponent gets in there with their 2/2. But they miss their land drop, it seems. Alright, well, we can just keep rumbling away with our creature every turn. Opponent down to 18 now. And we play our tapped Restless Bivouac, so a creature land that we can start using late game to get the final killing blows through. Another 2/2 for our opponent. See if they find their 3rd mana this turn. Doesn't look like it. No, they didn't. Okay, Path of Peril is a good draw. So they could have another Knight token, but the odds of that are pretty low. So let's just go to attacks with a 3/1, and I'm just going to Path here. We'll just try and take care of the board. I don't want to take another 4 damage. I don't want to go down to 10. Next turn we can play the Archangel if they want to squeeze out another 2/2. But they missed their land drop again. So that's a Path of Peril in the graveyard for them. And yeah, this Forge is just smashing every single turn. We'll play our Angel here, another 4 damage to our opponent's face. And if they counter, so be it, we have another one next turn. Yeah, get the opponent down to 7. So pretty strong performance by us in this particular game, but they have been a little bit mana screwed all along. They finally deal with the Forge, but this is too little too late as we get to attack our opponent with the Archangel. Play the other Archangel, and that's another 4 damage to our opponent's face. Don't think we had lethal, otherwise the Bivouac would have done 2 damage and put 1 +1/+1 counter on all of our creatures, but they end up dying anyway. Nice.